So we'll go ahead and get started. We're recording. And so I think today the first thing something that's always good is to create the listening. So to really get in a place where we can be with each other in a very intentional and open and intentional way so that we can listen to each other in a way that's going to make the most difference. It's also one of the greatest things that I've found for coaching is listening. You know, sometimes, sometimes early on in my coaching, I did a lot of trying to tell people who I was and what I knew and what I could do for them and how I could help and um, what I thought they wanted to hear. But one of the things that I did a lot less than I do now is listen. So, and one of the things that I find for listening is being really intentional, being really present as we can be with each other is one of the first space. It's like creating the space for that quiet mind and the presence to be together to allow what wants to come up into the space to come up. Because a lot of times early on, I had a lot up here and I was filling the space with it. Like, I can help you. I can tell you what I do. I do this, and this is my niche, and this is who I am, and this is what I do. And then, what's your problems? Do you have any problems? I'll help you. I can help you with your problems. Do you have problems? I can help you fix your problems. Oh, you got a problem? Oh yeah, you can fix it. You need to talk to me. I'll help you. And people, there's no space for people to in that. There was no space for other people to really share what was happening with them for me to hear a place that I could serve. Um, so I think that might be a direction we can go in is to talk about that.
He's trying to figure things out on the fly.
JG, what's your first name, JG? Are you
James,
are you talk James, are you talking to us or were you talking to somebody else?
I was talking to someone else. My
Okay,
fault.
cool. Yeah, if you thank you. Good deal. Thanks for meeting. So first I guess I'd love to ask, does anybody relate to that? Can you relate to that? Anybody? What I just shared? Yeah, go ahead, share. But I'd love to hear what you relate to in that.
Um, First of all, I don't hear you loud. I don't know if it's my computer or
Is that everyone?
no.
Mm.
Okay,
No, I can hear you
Okay.
well.
okay. Um, yeah, I can recognize myself in everything you said. Uh, I did that in the beginning. This is who I am. This is what I do, and asking questions to see, to get a grip on how I could introduce myself to help them instead of just being there, being present, being listening. And I I I still do that. It's like automatic. Like yesterday, I had a free coaching conversation, and I looked at myself and I said, "Oh, I I I spoke too much in that conversation. I for the next I have others today, and I will really concentrate myself on being present and listening. Yeah,
Mhm.
because it's what I want when I'm coached with Robert right now, and Robert he speak uh, speak like 5% of the time 95% it's for me, and it's normal because I pay. So and it's really helpful.
Mhm.
Is there more around that, Julie?
No, thank you.
Who else can relate to that? Go ahead and yeah, go ahead. Feel free, share. Veronica, I saw you have your hand up.
Okay. Well, thank you, first of all, Robert, for the space and Julie for what you offered. I think that most likely I speak for myself, but I fully identify with every single thing that you both have manifested. And what I'm becoming aware of is that as I have the I involved in the equation, the presence is not pure and complete because it's focused on me rather than on the client. And that has come as a realization, never as clear as lately. I think for me as well, Julie, I had the opportunity, the gift of having a one-on-one with Robert, and that made it extremely crystal clear of all the other coaching sessions I ever had in my life that was I saw myself as what I'm not. I don't create that. I'm constantly filling space. I'm constantly bringing noise. So this is already starting to change. And I also understood where the I is coming from, is that I cannot clearly and actively listen with intention and focus on who is in front of me if I'm constantly in my mind thinking, how am I going to get my point across? How is this going to turn into a client? As long as the attachment to a result for me is on the equation, that space will never be pure on my end. So at some point, I have to be transparent. What is it that I want to do? Do I want to be lecturing to people and sharing my expertise and everything I learned in my life? Or do I want to focus on them and then intuitively only use the pieces that work for as a mirror, but stop there, like get myself out of that equation? So I'm meditating on that as well because I used to be a teacher and an instructor and always on that position of giving information. And now I'm realizing this is not the space to do that. This is not the space to do that. So there has to be some rewiring, some honesty inside myself. So a bit of that. And I absolutely see the point that without that gift of 100% presence, focus on the client, with detached from the results, this space, the space of coaching cannot happen. So that is a gift for the client. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. And also, I want to say this is there's been plenty of times in my journey that I wasn't able to create that. And I think I feel like that's okay too, because this is something that's come up for me is everybody goes to work. Most people go to work to make a paycheck, right? A majority of those people that go to work don't really like their job. They just do it because they're getting a paycheck, right? Did anybody ever go to a job just for a paycheck because they didn't like the job? Anybody else do that? Anybody? I mean, I did. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but Julie, I saw her raise her hand. So it's like even if we're showing up for people and we want to help them and we're doing it for the money, that's okay too. Like if we have a lot of thinking about that, we have a lot of thinking about that. So what? We can show up with that thinking and still have, still practice because uh, I don't think we can get to the space of no expectation without going through a beat showing up with an expectation for a long time. So I want to share that as like there's no way to get it wrong. If you're new and you're like, what do you mean show up without an expectation? That just sounds like I'm gonna show up and not expect that I'm gonna get paid and put my time in. And I think that can be confusing for people sometimes. But yeah, just keep doing it, because on the other side of that, what I've found is the way that it really works is like I gotta show up and serve people and love people and care for people without expectation. And then that builds trust, and people, maybe they want to work with me, maybe they don't. Okay, cool. I can still serve them either way. So I love what's been shared so far. I see that Julie, I want to see if Hennel and Ellie have something to share, and then come back to you if you're okay with that. You cool with that?
I guess I'll add to it. Having come from a hospitality background, especially early on in my career, I felt like I have answers that I need to give to my guests. And I've learned over time that first listen to that person in front of you and hear what they've got to say before you respond. I think sometimes, most of the time, when we're listening to people, the thoughts that are going through is in our head is, what's my answer to that, to what they've just said? Whereas learning to just pause and just listen and reflect back, even if it was guests, I'm so sorry that you've told me about your room wasn't cleaned at a certain time. What can I do to make that better? I think has helped me to be able to listen to people in front of me. And I know, especially when we have that urge, don't we, that we want to just give them as much knowledge and tell them, right, okay, here's your problem, here's the answer. And I know, especially when I had my client last year, I literally put a post-it note right underneath the camera, which just said, listen, as a reminder to myself that just listen and have that pause and have, even if they say something, just sit there and just literally wait for them to respond. Because sometimes we feel there's a pause, they've spoken, now it's my turn. But sometimes I think if you can just sit there, and even with discussions with my wife's brother, he's quite opinionated and everything. I just don't say anything. I just listen to everything that he has to say, whether I agree with it or not, but without responding, and just let it just sit there. And I think it's just practice, because sometimes when we have conversations with other people outside of the coaching world, we have a response and it's a to and fro. And we just have to, maybe when you're a coach, you're kind of like putting on a mask or becoming an actor where you are a different, completely different person, where you're just there to listen only.
Ellie, would you like to share with us? Do you have any reflections of what's
Yeah.
been shared so far?
Yes, well, like everybody else, also, I had some listening problems in the beginning because I have a legal background, and in my mind, it's always looking for the solution. So a person is talking, and I'm thinking about, oh, how I'm going to solve this. So it was really difficult to switch from searching for the solution to let them find the solution on their own. It was completely, totally the opposite. So at the beginning, I had big problems just being still, being into the conversation without any reactions, like encouragement, disagreement, and, you know, interruptions, trying to finish the sentence because I know where it's going. Or you listen to the problem and you already have the answer, so you already have something to say. So, yeah, attentive listening was also a struggle for me at the beginning, but luckily I managed to overcome it. And yeah, I realized the role of the coach, which is just supporting the client. We're there for the client. We're there to listen to them and to their troubles and to help them, guide them towards finding the answers by themselves. So it's just the support. It's not giving them the solution. So that was a switch for me when I realized that, then it became easy to do, to be in the conversation, because I have the focus to be in a conversation for a long time, have the attention. So that was a plus in the coaching now. Yeah. So it's good to bear always in mind that it's not about us, what everybody said, that it's not about us, it's about the client, and it's not about what we know and what we want to say, what we have to say, but it's about the client and what they have to say and what is their problem and how we can guide them towards their own answers to their own problems. So, yeah, that's my share. So,
Jay, welcome. Good to see you. Would you like to share some reflections around what we're talking about? Talking about listening here. Can I, can you hear Jay? I can't hear Jay.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
There we go. Now we can hear.
Okay,
Now I
okay,
can hear
sorry
you. I
about
don't
that.
know about other people. That's okay. Hi,
Okay.
welcome. Glad you're here.
Hey, yeah. So I would say, I think that listening is one of the more difficult things about any kind of helping field. I think a lot of people go into this field with good intentions, intention to help others. And sometimes, that intention might go a little too far, and some people might impose what they believe it's what the person needs, and then if they push the client one way or another, and that's if the client doesn't come to that conclusion on their own, that could become problematic. The client can blame you if you're not listening to what the client needs, and if you're and that's just bad for everybody. But if you take a step back, you listen, and you are able to reflect, and you're able to help the client reflect on what they themselves have said, that typically brings a more authentic um, resolution to what the client is looking for, what the client actually needs.
Julie, you got your hand up still. Love to hear your reflections.
Yes, I think that Enal and Ellie make a good summary of what I wanted to share is I realize that when I am in a free coaching session with people, I don't do it to ask them if they want to be my client after, but unconsciously, I was doing it to show them that I was attached and I had expectations toward myself to make them experience how coaching is wonderful. So they get what it is and they want more. And so I was putting an expectation on myself of performing coaching instead of just being coaching. It's what I discover right now, and it's not necessary. Yeah. To yeah to listen instead of seek of showing what coaching is. Just being.
I see Veronica raise her
Yeah,
hand
thank you.
there.
Yeah, I want to connect and link with what Julie just expressed as well. All the points have been so valid, and valid, and I do feel identified with all of them. What Julie just said about this of changing the focus, the awareness onto the listening as a value. I believe that has been part of the reason I haven't been always consistently able to listen actively and interrupt and put my 2 cents constantly. That I felt, or perhaps it was my way of looking at it, that if I did not bring value through my own insights, it's like I'm ripping off the client. Like they're going to think they're not getting anything. What are they paying for listening? So if I can put the value, the actual service is the listening, is the reflecting back and constantly bring it back to the client, being at that mirror. If I can do that shift, then I think I have the potential to become a really good coach. But in order to do that, I have to unwire that old story that the client is paying for me as the expertise of everything that I know, and look at me, all the story, all my studies, all the integration of all these disciplines that I know, plus my 2 cents. And if I'll have to put that all aside and really put all the value that the client gets on the listening itself, which truly anybody can do. It's just that it's an art because obviously it's not as easy. But that, and then I have to understand or believe that the client will feel the value in that and will not be judging because there's so many thoughts. We can be present, like now I can be talking, but at the same time, I can have another voice that is judging what I'm saying, and on and on and on it goes. So if I can get rid of all that, not be thinking through the client, what are they thinking? Oh, she's ripping me off. What she's doing is listening. She's not putting in any new information on the table. And I think that to me is what I'm becoming the most aware of that is getting on my way if I can just believe and trust the process of listening. And I want to thank this space because I've taken a lot of courses on different things, and and this has been the most crystal clear. I think with the path of service and the path of like also Robert really walks his talk, and the way I think is shows us by example is really teaching me so much more than somebody who tells me how to coach, because it's being the coaching. Robert, sincerely, I mean that, and everybody else here listening, thank you.
Pennell has his hand up.
Just listening to what Julie and Veronica are saying about that listening. If we compare it to when you are talking to a friend and telling them your problems, the first thing that they want to do is, oh, have you done this? Have you done that? You know, they want to give that advice. Whereas I think we have to maybe bring it onto ourselves that when a client comes to us, they just want to be listened to sometimes, you know, they just, and by giving that silence, that's the service that we're giving them, is that we are there listening to them without giving opinion, without giving a judgment. And for somebody being put into that situation, this person is actually listening to me. They're not just telling me, oh, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. So I think that's that distinction that we have to give, that we are just there to listen to them and hear them. And for them, oh, I've finally found someone who is really, really listening to me and not just giving me their opinion or giving their judgment to it. So I think that's where we have to maybe bring that distinction, is that our job is to listen, to give that person that focus, you know, so the next time that person speaks to that friend, it's less likely that they're going to say, oh, how did you get on with that issue you had? Because everybody leads their own life. Whereas as a coach, we are there to say, right, how did you get on with what we talked about? What progress did you made? And for them, this person actually cares about me. I have this session with this person who's listening to me, and I can vent my thoughts without any judgment. So I think that's what the distinction is. People could talk to their friends, but their friends will give an opinion or family will give an opinion. Whereas for us, we are just there for them. And, you know, we're in that little bubble, if you like to call it, where they feel safe, they feel that they can talk about what they need to. And then if we need to, we can, you know, can I give you some feedback on what you just said to me, and sort of translate that talk. Don't know if that helps in the sense of trying to establish a coach's role.
Ellie,
Cutting a little bit.
I'm cutting out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to add to what Harold said. So now that we have become coaches, it's a totally different role, which is different than any role that we have played before in our lives. It's not a friend's role. It's not a lawyer, a consultant role. It's different. It's not a client service role, because in any other roles, you are expected to be proactive. You're expected, as Veronica mentioned, to give new information, to give a solution to something. to show knowledge and why you're there. You were paid for that you know something, that you can do something, that you can provide a result, something. So the difference now with the coaching is that we need to realize, we need to put ourselves there, that we are only the vehicle, that the show is about the client and he's the main character of the show. Like we are just the silent, supporter there to witness what the client is sharing and to understand. So our role is to listen and to understand. But I think that it is very important at the beginning of, that is why it's very important at the beginning of every relationship with a client to clarify what actually coaching is, to ask them if they know what they expect, from the coaching relationship, what coaching is and what coaching is not, so that they are, they know what they will get and they know what they should expect from the relationship. They know that they're not going to get any new solutions, any new information, so it's supposed to be clear at the beginning of the relationship. So rather it's a rather technical thing. It's a switch in a person's mind, or like, my role now is here, is this, like in a job description, responsibilities, this. I listen, I understand, I support, I guide, I do not interrupt, I do not give solutions, I do not give because in as Hannah shared, in a friendship relationship, we are expected to find a solution to our friends' problems. Like, you could do this or you should do this. So this is the support, the way we show the support. And coaching is completely different. So yeah, that's my share, not to be too long.
Yeah, thanks everybody for sharing. My internet connection it says it's unstable. Can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Okay, good. I'm just gonna leave my camera off for a little bit and see whether it stabilizes or not. But I want to share a couple things, and one from my experiences. Sometimes I show up to coaching sessions and I talk the whole time, and it makes a big difference for people. Sometimes I show up to coaching sessions and I listen most of the time, and it makes a big difference for people. So it just depends for me. Um, I really, sometimes intuition tells me to do one thing, sometimes it tells me to do another. So I want to say, I don't think there's a hard and fast rule for this for me. And I think sometimes there can be rules. Sometimes this is the other thing is that I love is when I show up without any expectations, I can be really, really, really honest with people. Like, if I don't care if you're my client, I can be real straight with you about what I see and what's coming up. And people really, really, people who are interested in this kind of work really love that. They love to see things that they haven't been able to see before. And I think that's one of the things when when I'm really with somebody presently, sometimes I can be really present and talk too. So I want people to hear that. It's like, for me, this is something that I experience, and maybe this doesn't resonate for you, but I have shown up to sessions before where, I will share things that I'll hear something and then I'll go on for most of the call and share some things that I think could be valuable, and it makes a huge difference for that person. So it's like, what's going to make the biggest difference? I don't really know. I have no clue. Um, and I don't say that to discount what anybody else has shared. Listening is powerful. So I want to make sure that I'm clear about that. But I do say it to say this is in my experience. Sometimes I can talk a lot and people get a lot from it. So that's okay too for me. Um, and I don't have my notes because I scooched to a different spot in my space. Um, but I see Jay has his hand up.
Yeah, hey Robert, I agree with you. There is no really hard or fast way. There's no one way fit all for clients. And like you said, your intuition. At the end of the day, it really does come down to knowing who you're talking to and knowing what they need at that point in time, and adjusting yourself so that you can provide the better service to what they need. And in my experience, I talked to you about this before, and I was a therapist for 6 years, and I feel like if you're going to sit there and you're just going to keep asking questions and just spend the whole time listening, even when the client has no idea what's happening, that becomes more therapy than it is coaching because coaching focus, we talked about before, coaching focuses on the forward momentum. Sometimes it is important to really sit down, talk, and figure out what is happening. But if that's all that's happening, I feel like no, that's kind of counterintuitive to what coaching is.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I remember I had a this was in a messenger conversation. But it felt really odd because all the guy did was he kept asking me question after question after question after question, and I kept answering the questions. And I was like, I'm not sure what's happening here, but he just kept asking me questions and never had any response. And finally, I just said, "Hey, man, like this is weird, dude. You just keep asking me questions over and over. Like, what is up with that?" So I get that in a way. Sometimes it's like if we say, okay, I just have to listen and ask questions. What I heard and what you shared is sometimes it can maybe it's not really connecting with the person in front of us. Um, yeah. Julie said, "Do you have a question, Julie?"
Yes, you you talked about honesty. Um, I don't know if I can bring that subject. It is something I struggle with. Honesty. Sometimes I. Is it okay if I bring that topic,
You can do anything you
Robert?
want.
Okay. I don't
Yep.
see you, Robert, so I
Yeah,
don't
go
see
for
you.
it. You can do it. This is a free space.
Okay,
We can do whatever
I
we
have
want.
uh, code another client, not client, but yeah, I gave her 2 coaching sessions, and she wanted to pay me for the second. So I said yes, okay. Um, and she's a therapist herself, and she has a big story of violence in her past and accidents and a lot of things. And every time I listen to her, but I feel that there's a big story that she's telling herself right now about her past. Uh, and she still always bring her past in her present, and I feel my intuition says that um yeah, there's a forgiveness to do there, and to I think she has to stop doing that, but I struggle to be honest with her. I struggle to be honest with people that position themselves in victims, and my first reflex is that I want to fight, because I say, oh boy, they need therapy, I'm a coach, I can't help them. But it's like I would like to be honest with them, but my fear is that they feel that I lack of empathy for them, for their story. And but I know that sometimes being of service is to say the truth to the person. You can't create a future if you constantly bring the past in your future. So And about therapy, I was a therapist before also, and it's like I prefer creating the future than healing the past, because it's like healing the past. It's a no ending thing. So I don't know what you think about that, Robert, about honesty. I'm not at ease to. I'm afraid that people say, okay, they could say, oh, she's a very hard person and she's not trauma informed and blah blah blah, things like that.
I'd love to hear what Hunnel has to say about it.
So listening to what you've said there, Julie, because you said it was this, you've had a couple of sessions or you've
Yes.
said a couple of, so I think I'm obviously Joe will know this, but therapy is obviously dealing with the past and we deal with the future. But I feel as it's you are just starting this journey with them, I feel sometimes you have to know a little bit about their past and their journey to understand where they're coming from, to be able to then take that information to help them move forward. So I feel
Yeah.
that it's not obviously if this has been going on for 6 sessions or 2 months or something, then it's you're talking about a problem. But I don't feel that there's anything wrong with painting a picture, if you like to call it, of learning a bit about that person to say what sort of trauma, what sort of grief. So you can say, okay, they're really at this point, and maybe then you can turn around and say, I think you need therapy. Or if it's just a case of I'm I know, okay, I can sense where you're coming from, and I can build that bit of understanding to say, okay, we don't need to go 100 miles an hour. Let's start off at 20 miles an hour to be able to get you shifting forward.
Yes.
Because we can't make a judgment about someone without knowing someone. And if we are, I don't know, a coach with a particular niche, and we feel, okay, you've gone through grief, right? This is what you need to do. Let's figure out what sort of level of grief you have been through to be able to bring you out of that journey, maybe at a slower pace. It doesn't need to go at that. So obviously, you will be able to judge because you've spoken to that person more. Do they just want to get it all out first and then look at your insights?
Thank you.
Jay?
No, I agree with Henel. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, but even though I said that earlier that if all you do is ask questions, it can feel like more therapy. But any kind of work you do when with people, it's something like coaching. You're working with people and their growth. It's natural that the past is going to come up. No, there's no way of avoiding that, but I think it's important how you navigate that and how much of that past. And, in order to work with somebody to move forward, you kind of have to understand where they're coming from and where they are now. So that way you can kind of identify what the barriers are and that will help you and help them strategize a plan to move forward. But, like I still stand by what I said before. If it's just all talking about the past and there is not even a speck of no forward momentum, then at that point, I think that it might be important to recognize that you might enjoy talking to me, but I'm not sure if I can really offer you what you're really needing because you are clearly not at a spot right now to where you are able to move forward because there's a lot that is holding you back. So, I think at that point it's possible for them to work with a therapist and a coach because you are addressing two different aspects. In my experience as a therapist, I tell people this when I talk to them that maybe 60% of the time we're working on the past and 30% of the time we get them to the present, and hopefully they'll stay with me to move forward as a therapist. But most of the time people don't really get that far because insurance said, okay, you're done. Peace out, you're done. No more insurance, no more therapy. But as a coach, though, you can help them work on the forward momentum.
Mhm. Yeah.
You bring up a good point, Jay, that I talked to somebody about yesterday, and I will come to you next, Ellie. Around the therapy being insurance based and then coaching being self pay, there's a big there's a big
Gap.
difference in the way that we have to be with people to and the value that we have to add, and I don't know, maybe the space adds the value. I mean, that's part of listening. It's like, what value am I adding? Maybe I'm not adding the value, maybe the space adds the value that I create. Maybe the value isn't in me, it's in the space. And maybe there are things that I bring to the table, but creating that space, there's a lot of value in that. Um, so I want to speak to that too, because it's very different when somebody has insurance and they're going to get help and somebody's paying for it out of their pocket.
Mhm.
A very different,
Yeah.
it's a very different thing, and it can look very similar, but it's very, very different. So I want to speak to that and just get that out into the space a little bit so people can see there's a big difference between that. There's also a difference between somebody going to get a bag of apples and paying money for it. They know what an apple tastes like. They love apples. They've had them their whole life and they want some more apples. But how many people have had a really great coaching session? Probably not a lot. So trying to sell somebody something that they've never had an experience of by creating language and putting it out there and trying to get out there, sometimes that can be another thing. It's like we have to create the experience. We don't have to, but if we want people to understand what coaching is, we get to create an experience for them that they can experience the gift of really being listened to and really being cared for in a way that makes a difference, because they may have never had that in their entire life, and somebody that's willing to be completely honest with them, you know. And after this is I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit about what I was thinking, because I think it's a good space for this in this moment. Is also, there's other factors. How committed is the person that's showing up? If I just have a conversation with anybody in a coaching conversation and I don't create some buy-in, they have to do some things to be part of the conversation. I don't create some intention and some commitments to be there, then their commitment level is very low. They're not going to have a shift if their commitment level is low, in my experience.
Mhm.
The other thing is, how well have I listened to them and understand where they are? If I really, really listen to somebody for an hour or an hour and 10 minutes, in the last 20 minutes, I can be very honest with them about what I see, and they hear me because they know they've been listened to and cared for. But if I show up in the first 10 minutes and I'm like, hey, you know what your problem is? Your problem is you're full of shit. People don't listen to that in the first. If I haven't actually been with them and created a commitment myself and been intentional and listened to them deeply, they don't care what I have to say. But when they know that I'm there and I've listened to them and I hear them and I see them and I feel what they're going through and I see that and I say, yeah, I see that. And this is who I see you are. But beyond that, that makes a big, big difference. Yeah, rapport. Yeah, I had that happen one time when I was coached for like 10 minutes, and then this lady, what she told me was true and right. She said that I needed to create space in my schedule, that my schedule was too full, and she said you need to create space. She was totally right. My schedule was way too full, but she only spent 10 minutes with me. So when she told me that, I was basically like, yeah, I'm sorry about your luck. And I told her at the end, I was like, hey, there may be some truth in what you're saying, but I didn't feel like we connected enough for you to be able to tell me that. And then she blocked me, and no, I don't, I don't know what happened, but I can't. I tried to get in touch with her because I had that shift and realized that she was true, and I tried to message her back and say, hey, everything you said was true, and I couldn't get in touch with her, so I assume that she blocked me, but I don't really know. But sometimes, it's like, hey, I'm gonna tell you the truth, but don't tell me the truth, kind of thing. I don't know. That's how I took it. That's how I created it. But Ellie,
Well, I just wanted to say that when Julie was starting the the conversation, she started with honesty. And like in my head, what you shared afterwards does not have to do a lot with honesty. It has a lot to do with being professional and assessing the situation. Like it is not expected of you to be honest or dishonest. It's just seeing where the client is and if they are only there on this session to share about their past, which is a place for a therapist, a role for a therapist, or they are at the point when they are ready to move on and they would like some help with continuation of that road. So maybe the way that you were looking at it should be changed a little bit because honesty, would be something else and something out of this context, according to me. What's important, and also Robert mentioned that as well, that we know that the person is ready to commit. So these things are connected one with the other. At the beginning of each relationship with the client, we need to make sure that they understand what coaching is, the relationship, and that they are ready to commit. Sometimes they will not be ready to commit at the beginning, they're there, but then they're not quite there. They will go back and forth, but they have this big wish and desire to move on. So maybe they will share like a session or two about where they're coming from. It's inevitable, in order to create that relationship with them, to to learn something about their past and about their troubles and how they got where they are now. So that's inevitable. You have to make the rapport and you have to make the connection with the client. um, but yeah, I think that at the beginning is very important to know whether they are willing to change. They're ready and willing to change that about their life, what's been bothering them. So don't look at yourself as, being honest or dishonest with them. It's you're being honest all the time. Like you're not ready. I suppose nobody's ready to lie to a client. Why would they? But it's just a professional assessment, I would say, if they are a client for a therapist or they're a client for a coach. That's my share.
Okay, it's to be honest when I'm sure that the client is committed to is and ready to change.
I know Emma said she wanted to share, and the other thing that comes to me is I love what everybody's sharing. It's really great stuff. Being professional, being the professional self. Sometimes we can create. I've done this anyway. When I say we, I mean me. Is create conversations with people who are my friends without clear context of,
Mm.
hey, this is a coaching conversation, and I'm going to show up as a professional today, and this isn't going to be a friend to friend. This is going to be a coach to client conversation. So I love that, and being really clear about that. That's part of the context of creating context for the conversation that creates the space where you can say, can I, and this is another thing, ask for permission. Are you open for me to share something that I'm seeing?
Mm.
And let them decide whether this could be something that could be a little bit, could ruffle your feathers. This could blow some bubbles up inside of you. So I want to make sure that you're ready for this. And the other thing I shared the other day that I love is you can say, what level do you want? We can go surface level, mid level, or we can go to the root, and I can tell you something that I'm seeing that may bring up something for you. Um, and really getting clear about where they want to go before we go there. I've found that to be useful for people because then people are like, yeah, give it to me. I want it straight. I did that with a friend of mine. I forget the conversation, but I said, yeah, give it to me straight. And he did. He told me about how he thought I should be a better father and that I wasn't doing a good job as a father. That's how I heard it. That's not exactly what he said, but that's what I heard. And I sat through it and I listened to everything he said and I evaluated and looked and said, I can see that. I can see that. And it made a difference for me because I was open to hear it. But I asked for it. I was like, give it to me. Tell me what you think. Um, Emma, do you want to share still?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, I'd love
Yeah,
to hear
thank
from
you.
you. That's
So it's just a few things. Obviously, I've been through pain and trauma, and it comes up again and again, and it's bound to. But what I found helpful is have a self-care guide or create it with your clients. Help them through it. So they're struggling with something like a trigger. How can I help them with this? Right? So maybe they need to do something nice for themselves. Maybe they need to listen to music. Maybe they need to have a walk. Also implement journaling for emotions, for thoughts, for stories. That will help them to just write what they're going through. You can also do meditations with them or provide meditations. You can do grounding techniques. And a really big point of it is present moment awareness. So rather than really focusing on the past, we've talked about it briefly, we've addressed it, we know it's there. But what we can do is have grounding techniques to bring them back to the present. So remember what day we're on, where you are, what's happening today. Maybe even start a conversation about something that's happening in your day. And this might just direct it away, is what I'm thinking. So we're not avoiding what they're going through, but we're just addressing it briefly and then moving on to other things. That's where my thought process is at the moment.
Thank you, Emma. Appreciate you sharing. I love all the sharing. It's amazing. Everybody
Thank
uh, stepping up and sharing their experience and their reflections and what they see. This is really, really valuable for me as well. Um, Veronica has her hand up.
Yeah, I also find all the feedback and input extremely beneficial, and it's all pieces of things that I can see, pieces of myself and how I feel about coaching. So it's very helpful. Now, in connection with this of the past, because all of us have a past as well, and through coaching, what I realized, and through my own self, is that the past will never go away. It's not realistic to say I'm not going to be in the past. I think that what happened through coaching is that we're able to create a healthy relationship with our past and gradually we integrate it. So, like for me to tell a client, can you put that behind now for the rest of your life? I cannot do that with my own past. It's impossible. I can't put behind that I almost died of anorexia when I was a teenager. I can't put behind that I was robbed and stolen everything that was my identity that made me. That would be not realistic. But integrating that and starting to breathe into that and then use it forward to manifest that new creation and that new opportunity, not different that we put manure in a soil so that the seed can really sprout. I think the past is actually where these come from. They are birthed from there, from all the pain, all the it's almost a transforming the past becomes the opportunity. And just through the guiding of the coaching, that happens naturally, that process. So it's like the past is or the ghosts or the stories are always there, but they're there in a different way. They're there as a springboard. I find the client realizes that themselves. It's almost like they have new lenses to interpret their past through the opportunity to view it from a different angle. So I think that the past does come out up a lot. I find in most like it's not a done deal. Like because they're getting ahead, it's not going to come back. So the expectation may be maybe expect nothing, just that let it be, or I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, maybe in therapy it's all about the past. But I believe in coaching, the past doesn't completely disappear. It's not a realistic expectation that it's not going to continue to come up, but it's there as a friend almost, like the old shadows, like inviting the little girl that was wounded, come and play with me as an adult because now I'm empowered and we're working from heart and we're working from a different space, and so that part of ourselves actually comes in handy too.
Thank you, everybody, for what you shared. Um, one other thing that comes alive for me is something that I found to be true, and I'm not sure if you have found this to be true too, but there are moments in my day that where I can be really grateful, really feeling um grateful for where I am, and feeling very joyous and alive. And I look back at the past and I think all those things had to happen for me to be here in this moment right now. And I look at it all and I see the gift. And then there's days when I'm frustrated and pissed off and
Mhm.
angry. And I look back at the past and I go, it was all a bunch of bullshit. It was all a bunch of shit. It was all terrible. And so I think it's funny that depending how we feel in the moment, it depends how I see the past anyway. Like when I look at back at the past from different states, it looks different. It looks very different. Um, so I think that's interesting. And the other thing that came alive for me was a video recently that one of my peers, somebody that um I've had some interactions with. She did a video with Gabor Mate. Does anybody know who Gabor Mate is? It's a 60-minute video, and it talks a bit about past, it talks about trauma, it talks about a lot of different things. It's a great video, and if anybody here wants to see that video, if you're open to watch that, it's a 60-minute video. Let me know and I will share it with you afterward, after this, because it's really he talks a lot they talk a lot about trauma, and they talk a lot about the past, and they also talk about what they've seen that really is helpful. And one of the things that they say at the end of the call, Gabor talks about, is agency. That like healing comes from the personal agency that we use to say, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to do something that's going to make a change in my life. And I think that's fun because that speaks to coaching. Is that what I see that I do as a coach is bless you, Jay, bless you again, and bless you again. And what I see as what I'm doing as a coach is yeah, reach out to me after this, James. I think you said your name was James. I forgot. But yeah, reach out to me afterwards and I'll send you that video. Um, but he talked about agency, and what I see as a coach is what I do is I give people the opportunity to take agency for their life. I give people an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm gonna do something about this, whatever it may be, whether it's their relationship or their business or themselves, or it's like that's what we do as coaches is we show up and we give people the opportunity to say yes to themselves. Like when I'm working with a coach as a coach myself and they hire a client, you know what I say? Hooray for the client. Hooray for that client. They said yes to themselves, to their own growth. That's the most important thing for me is the person who's saying yes to that for themselves. Um, so I don't know what you hear in that, but I'd love to hear if there's some reflections of something that came up for you as I was sharing there. Ellie's got her hand up, then we'll go to Jay.
The one is not dry, the other one is in the. Oh, sorry.
No problem.
I apologize. My kids are in the process of leaving for school.
That's normal. That's life. Don't worry about it. I wanted to share, Robert, that yeah, of course, what we've been through and all our experiences, all our traumas, they made the person who we are today. And with all the good and the bad sides of it, but agency, I looked it up, I didn't know what agency is, so it's like a responsibility. So taking responsibility of what has happened to us and having the will to move on in spite of it, and to create more quality life, to create the life that you are desiring for yourself is actually the moment, the moment when you decide, okay, so I don't want to be living in my past. I don't want to be dealing with every day, every moment of my life with what has occurred to me or what is still a part of my life. But I wanted to integrate somehow into what I am and all about and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So I'm saying this from my perspective as well. This is what your share raised with me, these emotions that, having MS, is, I have been having it for 25 years. So if I had decided to be a victim 25 years ago, I would have, gone a different road. But then and there, I decided, look, I'm going to keep going no matter what keeps happening. Like you just brush up, get up, and continue the road. So it's having that responsibility, having that acceptance, having that awareness of what is there and what cannot go away, but how you want it to be a part of your life and how you want to be inspired by that to create something else to help maybe some other people, who are dealing with something like that. Is actually, it was one of my drives for becoming a coach, because I have had that experience and I can help other people go through that experience, I can give them the shortcut from point A to point B. So definitely our past is something that marks us, but it can mark us in a bad way and in a good way as well. So if we are smart enough, to, and strong enough, if we are able to somehow transform that trauma into an inspiration for your life and for your work, I think it's a great thing, and by what I have seen this far, I've met a lot of coaches. Everybody has something, some trauma in their life, so which most of the time inspired them to go down this road of coaching and turn their mess actually into their message. So yeah, I'll stop here because yeah, it's a big topic, but I think it's enough. Like we are past the hour, so gotta respect.
Yeah, I created this space to be for 90 minutes, so we still have another 20, 23 minutes.
Yeah, I thought it was 60 minutes, so yeah, I tried to condense the answer to this. But yeah, I said most of the things I wanted to say. That of course it is a part of our life. Our past is what defines us. What makes us who we are today. But it's different if you say it defines us or if it scars us. Like to me, there is a big difference. Like I like to say that having this does not define who I am, because I am much more than my disease, and everybody is much more than their trauma or what happened to them or their experience they had. We are, a lot more than that, and having that in mind, it will keep us going towards, becoming better people for ourselves and better coaches for the others, to help our clients. So yeah, turning mess into message. Yeah, it's not my thought. I have heard it somewhere. I cannot take credit for it, but it's very true. That everybody has a mess in their life, which we turn into our message. So I don't know. I think that what makes us great coaches is actually those experiences, because we are natural. Like, I do not have to invent 10,000 techniques or tools, like you're going to do that or you're going to do this, like do these 3 things every morning and you're going to have that result. No, I've lived it and I know what works, what doesn't work, so it depends on the type of person you are. For example, I'm a very natural person, and the way that I talk to people is like I share my experience and hope that it might help them. I do not guarantee anything. We cannot guarantee anything. Nobody can, as a coach as well, guarantee anything to their client. But we can only hope that what we are sharing can help them in some way. So yeah, I'll stop
Thank you.
here. I've said too much. It's not about me.
Yeah, thank you. That reminds me of that video with Gabor Mate, where he shared trauma is not what happens to you, it's what's experienced. And I love that. It's he said if somebody gets a hit on the head and they don't get a concussion, there's no trauma. The trauma is what's experienced. It's not what happens, it's what's experienced. Which I really appreciated. There's so much in that video, and I'm gonna watch it again. And I do have to share this. Well, I don't have to, but I'm going to. Is that one of the things that I love is when I share resources with people, you might find value in this. I always watch the resource again, even if I've seen it 20 times, I watch it again. Like when I share a resource with somebody, I've shared resources with some of the people in this group, and every time I share a resource, I watch it again, where I listen to it again and I experience it again. And it's one of the gifts of this too is I keep learning and growing. And I've listened to some of these videos like 20, 15, 20 times, and I'll listen to it the 20th time and I'll hear something and go, wait, that was that not in that the first 20 times that I listened to this, So that's something really fun. So anybody here who wants a Gabor Mate video, if you reach out to me, I get to watch it again. So if you do that, it'll be a gift to me. So thank you. Veronica.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. And I hope you don't have to watch that video. How many of us are here 20 times or God knows how, just watch it once for all of us because we may all ask for it. But that's one thing. So otherwise, your life will never move on. But that's one thing, just to bring some humor and let us smile. I just want to tie it on with, and thank you for what you shared, Ellie. Like, it's very meaningful, and I think we can all relate. But what Robert said earlier about celebrating when a client says yes to themselves. My question a bit, for those that have perhaps more experience, is that I found, and actually what brought me here a lot was being a yoga instructor for over 25 years. I'm finding that people will get stuck mostly because they just wanted the flexibility in the body. And my issue with continuing to help them in their overall well-being at all the other levels was that it wouldn't come to the point where somebody will choose to raise their hands and be a willing participant of their well-being at all those levels. And it's really hard to guide, help, whatever you want to call it, anybody when they're not ready. And so my question here is, what does it look like to help somebody who comes to you, but they're not ready yet to be that willing participant. They're not yet ready to say yes to you, to themselves. And is it possible through a couple of sessions, by listening to them and help them listen to themselves, that they come to the conclusion that they want us, they start hearing themselves, and therefore they become ready to say yes? Because I still notice that even when people come to me, and even and I'm including in this bunch even neighbors, friends, people that just come to me wanting help, but obviously when it comes down to it, they're not ready. They're not ready to say yes to themselves. They don't want to, because I guess it's a bit of work to choose. The only door that it can open for that transformation is to choose to be that active participant. Nobody else can do that for oneself, just like nobody else can feed us. So I'm just, well, they can feed us, but they cannot do the chewing and the digesting for us. So I'm just wondering, what does that look like? And, for those that have more experience.
I love that question. And the answer for me is yes, I've served people. I've been in conversation with people for quite some time, and I'll give you an example in my own life. And I've shared this story before, but on Kush Jane, I I would say he's top five coaches in the world. That's my opinion. And you know what opinions are like. Everybody's got one, and most of them stink. But I think mine's pretty good, but so does everybody else. Um, but I think he's amazing as a coach. And the reason I say that is because he's served me time and time and time and time again whenever I was curious but not ready, curious but not ready. I've had over the past 3 to 4 years, I've had 5 conversations with him at no cost, and he has served me time and time again. He shared videos with me of things that he's done. He's I had the first conversation I had with him. He told me some things in my world, some things in my about my coaching business that I didn't take his suggestions at first. But what he told me, I found out that I've implemented finally after a lot of years of not doing that. I finally did, and it's actually what works. And he told me that from the very beginning, but I couldn't hear it. So um and I realized this year I was in a coaching call with somebody who's in the group, and he's a coach as well. And we were talking about OnCush, and I was like, this guy has served me so powerfully. And I said, I've had 5 conversations with him, and he has served me so much. And one of the things that I realized in that moment, and I know I'm going in a little different direction, but I want you to hear the reason I'm sharing this is because this is about coaching and people saying yes to working with us as a coach. Is I realized I never spent any money with this particular person on Kush. I never bought anything from him. I never, there was never any kind of like, hey, yeah, I'll buy a class or I'll buy a service. He has a coaching school. He has a men's immersion, and they're pretty expensive, but he just came out with a book this year called Awakening the Coach Within. And when I realized that, I was like, I never bought anything from this guy. And he's served me. He's changed my whole life and my whole coaching business and everything. Um, and I realized at that point, it was like, I'm gonna buy a book. So I bought 2 books from him. So I want to say that this is like it's a slow process of continuing to serve and continuing to serve and continuing to serve. And the people who are meant to be with us on the journey, they will be. But either way, their lives get better. Their lives get better when they're with anybody that's in this group right now, and they're with you, and you're present with them, and you just show up and care for them. Their lives get better. They may not hire you, but their lives will get better because of the intention that they're putting into just having that conversation. Um, And that's what we get to do all day, every day with every person that we meet. We get to lead them into that gift of a comfort conversation that has the potential to be the conversation that is the one that makes them go, you know what, you're right. I could actually do something about this. What? Are you kidding? I can actually do something about this. It's not everybody else's fault. I can actually change this. We get to create that every day, all day as coaches. That's why this is the best profession in the world. We are raising the consciousness of the planet as coaches. It's the best profession in the world because of that, because we get to do that all day long. We get to help people see you can do something about this. You can do something about this. You can change it. You can say yes to something that is going to transform your life forever. We get to do that every day, all day. We're walking around with briefcases of $1 billion and we get to give it to people. That's what we do. That's what we do. Julie?
I have a question. Do you find yourself at any moment in a position where you were serving a lot of people, making big difference around you, but were not able to pay your bills? And what did you do about that? Because I did that in the past, so it's why I'm trying to. It's not that I want to select people, but I want to be better at selecting people who are ready, so I can pay my bills and serve more the people who are maybe not ready, or you know what I mean? It's hard to, yeah, I realize that sometimes I feel like I'm in a hurry with people who are not ready, because I want to work with people who are ready. So I realize right now that I'm not being a good coach when I do that. But well, I just, yeah. So sorry, my question was very long, but did you find yourself in a place where you are serving a lot, but were in a position of not paying your bills?
Yes. The answer to that, the simple answer is yes. And what continues to come alive and become more clear is creating a clear way to discern where are the people that I'm speaking with in the journey, and then creating something that can be really super easy for them to say yes to, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to serve them, because Steve Chandler says the best way that you can serve someone is in a paid coaching relationship.
Yeah, I think so. I have this experience for myself too, and my dream is to be like Ankush and to be able to serve people freely. But I need, not that I need, but I need to create containers where people pay before I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll come. Keep
Mm-hmm.
keep serving,
Yeah, yeah.
and keep moving, and it will come alive for everybody here. Keep serving. The more people that we serve without expectation and with a clear direction for them to move in, like, hey, where you at? I have this direction. Does this feel good for you? What would this feel like? Making it really easy and creating these easy directions for people to go and to say yes to something where they get to transfer the meaning that they're placing in money and they get to transfer that for them taking agency to change their life. That's what coaching is. Somebody's
Mm.
taking their value that they have on money and they value this so highly, and they're shifting that value to for them to show up in a
Yeah.
space that we're creating for them, that we make that very clear. You shift this to here and your life transforms. It's not because of me, it's because you're taking agency and you're committing to creating your life in a new and more meaningful way.
Yes, they,
Cool.
they are buying their future self. So, but I have another question. How do you discern? Um, do you have tricks to discern more quickly who is ready or soon to be ready than the people who are not ready?
Yeah, I do. This is the trick. You invite them and they say yes. That's how you know.
And what words do you use for your invitation?
Where would you like to go from here?
Um,
And if they say, and if they say, I want to not talk to you anymore ever, cool. If they want to, if they say, I'd love to hear more about how we could work together, then I tell them. And either way, I know how when people are ready is when they say yes. That's it.
okay, so you
That's
ask
how I know
them
when people are ready.
where we go from here is the question.
That's one of the things that comes up sometimes, or I'll say, how does this feel? How has this been? Like, what do you think would be possible if we did this moving forward? What would this feel like? It just depends. There's no hard and fast rule, but
Mhm.
it's it's having a clear direction for them to go in, and if they say no, cool, awesome. I love that for you. You know, cool, great,
Oh yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I don't have
Yeah.
problem with no, no, no.
Yeah, and
But
that's a practice too, because I think there's probably going to be a lot of people watch. There may be some people that watch this and say, "Well, that feels really hard for me," especially if we're, for me, whenever I was not able to pay my bills and I felt like I needed that money coming in. It makes it a
mm,
lot harder. I know, Anne Marie said in one of our first calls, she said something about you can't feed people when you're starving,
mm,
and I guess people can be at a place where they don't have a lot of income coming in and they're not sure and they can trust the space, but I think that takes a lot of time and a lot of practice and a lot of trust and a lot of testing what Einstein said of either the universe is here to support you or it's not. Either the universe is friendly or it's not. If you know the universe is friendly, then you can show up, and but if you don't know the universe is friendly, then it's going to be hard to show up and serve people without expectation. In my experience, that's my experience. I don't want to say that for everybody, but that's been my experience. And it takes practice of continually. This is for me. It's taken a lot of practice, and some days are better than others. Some days I show up and I think, why would this person not say yes? This is like, I can't understand that. Like, they don't want their life to change. What the heck is wrong with people? But that's my judgment of me trying to
mm,
I have an expectation that they're going to say yes. Then they're going to see the value, and sometimes people don't. And that's cool. That just
mm,
means, that just means they don't see the value. Um, if I think it means that I haven't proved to them it's worth it, then I'm going to try even harder to make them look, it's going to be great. Come on. And then people are like, I got to get the hell out of here. This guy's trying to force me into something that I don't want to do.
mm,
And I can be that way. And that's cool too, because I learned from it. Um, but that's just my experience. For this space, we're going to have 3 more minutes. So Veronica has her hand up, and then I'd love if you can create that for just 1 minute. I'd love to hear the value that people have gotten from this in the last couple minutes. If everybody, some people are open to share.
I very quickly wanted to say that in my case, I think that the reason I never got any clients is because I never put forth the invitation. I just keep giving and serving. So that's a very good point. And nobody's going to come and ask me, can I pay you when I just keep giving it? Just never put the invitation. So, this has been wonderful. I want to give the opportunity for others, please.
Love to hear what has your experience been of today? What's the value that you found in this conversation? What's the difference this has made? I'd love to hear if you're open to share.
The two words I go with is to become a very, very, very intentional about listening and making invitation to go further. Yeah.
Who else? Ellie?
Yeah, I can say that, yeah, the invitation part is a bit problematic for most coaches because we want to give. But when we should charge for our services, it comes a little bit harder somehow. So yeah, making that invitation louder and clearer, and not being salesy is something, yeah, that I'm taking away, as something that I need to work on more consistently.
Panel?
I think it's great hearing everybody else's different views and making us think differently. I think there's a general consensus that we're all in the same boat, and you haven't got these thoughts by yourselves, because a lot of what people have said, oh yes, I've thought about that. I've been thinking, and sometimes we keep it in our heads, which you think, is it just me? But I think everyone's sharing. It just, I'm not alone in this planet of coaching, and some of the good things. Ellie put it up in the chat there as well. We are constantly, I think, trying to chase that paid client, and we might spend months trying to find that client for a month. I want to get paid for this. I want to get paid for this. Whereas maybe we can just offer, as you said as well, Robert, just to serve, and just, we've got this time. It might be a week before our paid client, but if we can just keep serving, we might not have that client who will come to us, but they might refer us to somebody else. And I love my metaphors kind of thing. It's like, you want to run the marathon. You're not going to wait until that marathon happens. You do that training beforehand to get you good for that marathon, so you can enjoy that marathon, rather than say, got a marathon in a month, I'll train the night before, and when you start that marathon, it all flops. Whereas you do those little runs every day, not expecting anything. And yeah, I think for me, I've always thought, when you put a post or something like that, if you have zero expectations, anything you get is a bonus. Whereas if you have an expectation up there, you're striving for that, and anything less, you feel disappointed with. So I think that's what I feel like I've gathered from this. Just train for that marathon, and that marathon will come at some point.
Cool. Let's create 3 or 4 more minutes to have everybody else that's here to share. Jay?
Thank you for creating the space, by the way, Robert, and the invitation. I really, enjoy hearing other coaches' perspective. And like I mentioned before, I do come from a mental health background, so trying to get the contrast and the balance right, and hearing what other coaches and how they manage, and how they present themselves when they speak to clients, definitely helps guide my own practice, or guiding my practice, because right now it's still in the works.
Awesome. JG, I see you on.
Yes, and I'll echo the sentiment of the others, Robert, and thanking you for creating this space. I think one of the biggest lessons I got from this interaction is the idea of knowing when a client is ready. And we talked a lot about people having a past and them needing to deal with their past and at the same time integrating that past into their growth process. So that's interesting to know, and I guess you got to know when that past. You got to put the brakes on that, and know that that person needs therapy to wrestle with the past because it's going to keep them from moving forward into their future. So I appreciated that discussion. One of the most memorable adages I read in my coaching reading is that people don't want to be fixed; they want to be helped. And so I think that that's a really important concept in that, because if they're in need of therapy, then they really do need fixing. And we can't stop there with the coaching, but we're not going to be able to continue forward with the coaching until they wrestle with that. So thank you.
Thank you. Emma,
Yep, I'm here.
final
1 minute.
reflections?
Hi, yeah. I thought it was great today, really, really great. I love the bit about the resilience. Basically, similar to like doing a race, you hit obstacles in life, and sometimes it's learning how to keep moving forwards. It's using that resilience. And like we said earlier, sometimes you can talk about something briefly and then you can move on from it, but it might just be tools to help you deal with it, like um, bring calmness into your life. And when it's too advanced, then obviously it's therapy. So they were the points that I got, and obviously listening to your clients, practicing mindful listening, mindful conversations, things like that. Very, very important. And we've also got to remember as well that maybe these people want to vent. Maybe they haven't spoke to someone all day. Maybe they're a bit isolated and they just want to reach out, So sometimes it's helpful to just take that time and just listen to them. So yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thanks everybody for everything you shared. If you want the Gabor Mate video, send me a message. If you have any questions about what was shared here and you feel like there's a way I could serve you, reach out. I'd love to have a conversation, and we'll talk soon. With the next group we have is next. Let me check my schedule. The
12
20th.
days.
So 20th at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So right now it's 8:35 Eastern Standard Time, so it would be 30 minutes before this on the 20th of February. And then the next one after that is the 23rd at 10 a.m. Eastern, and that's going to be the one with the call with Melissa Ford. Melissa Ford is a phenomenal coach, and you won't want to miss that one. If you do, there will be a replay. So have a great day. See y'all.
Thank you,
Take care.
Robert. Thank you, everyone. Bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Take care,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody. Bye. Thank you, Robert.